Pride and ego. A kind gesture is different than an apology. Decisions that we make. There's many Leos, many different lions. It's the poverty aspect. Workers from poverty get offered poverty jobs, and they hold them down. Because we have to take what we can get. If the owners fail, poverty workers, they stay in poverty. But the rich owners, they go home. They still have a nice house. Doesn't matter the job. The poverty scale, when you look at the 1980s, 90s, 2000s, going to 20 teens to 2021. After 4 decades, I've seen a lot through the poverty, the decline, and the survival's only gotten harder. To suppress the ages, simple tactics keep the poor poor, the rich get richer, or they bleed the poor dry. Coherent is the heartbeat of emotion. So what we mirror will truly come back to us. Wisdom of the recognition in the emotion. We are all matter and linked energetically. We are all one collective. We all matter. We are all one in the entanglement. A hologram. How you mirror and live, reflect light in your life. I'm a hologram. I'm just a bookmark. I'm just another person just like anybody else. Every piece of something contains all of something, no matter how little. And that's nature. I know I sat after school, after work, after work, you talk about work, or you might talk religious talks, or dinner table talks, just to the ordinary blessings. I've sat at many places with no tables. The beauty of the hologram and the beauty of travel, when I think holographic, is the entanglement. Well, first, it's the emotion feeling. It's already there. It's all the time. That holographic, in my kids. That reflection in your parents. How you see them, how they can see you. It's the higher thought of the impact. So you're a hologram. Your shadows. What you leave behind. Your legacy. And that entanglement is nature's change. The change, creation of peace. When one has an experience and the other has the experience, without the experience. No matter world positioning. So I'll say that again. When one person can have an experience, and they can speak of the experience, which lets the other person have the experience, without actually experiencing it. And that doesn't matter where you are in the world, and that's why some of us do this stuff. Because you might not have the same experience, but at the same time you share the same emotions. The third dimension is our physical world. The fourth dimension is our time, the time and space. If you look at quantum theory, universe of energy, Newtonian theory, universe of things, the string theory, there's no one story that totally defines everything. Scientists, there's stories, mathematical, spiritually. But the higher we get, the simpler. Not the harder as you may think. So, if as you level up, it's going to become easier because it doesn't matter how rich you get or how much money there is. At the end, we all just want more time. More time with family, more time to experience something. Just more time to have a little bit more time. Some of us, there's a holistic personality. The higher dimensions, math doesn't have to add up or make sense. But 1 plus 1 will always add up. Change in a number. Simplify and unify. It's coherence. It's just being one at the end of the day. If the idea of how things work, consciousness, every computer turns, you can turn things off and you can turn things on. But when you look at atoms or bits, and you look at reality, if that's all we are, then if we get turned off, the things around us, form our reality. So when you're going through and people are shutting off electric and shutting off phones and shutting off this, and we're creating this world of inflation, and it's getting harder and harder, and more things are getting turned off. They're harder to be accessible. It makes it harder for the younger generations to come up and find new ways of seeing things. This leads exploration of our universe. You look at now quantum computers, and if the Earth is one, and in it, if we filter down that thought process, it's very powerful to think that the power of language, our reality of code, the combination of languages, how many languages are out there. I think more people need to be bilingual and be able to speak multiple languages. And we need to merge in the gap. And that starts at a young age. We're trying to push all this stuff on these kids. But really, to let them be kids and let them learn the things that can bring people back together as one. Rhetorically, I'm not sure if that's what we're teaching them. When you look at schools and you look at the richest kids in schools, or you look at the poorest kids in schools, I see a lot more poor kids happy because they see a reality of life. They realize the human connection. And it leads to the question, who is an architect? When did it begin? And when does it end? If life is a dream for some, and they never get to experience that reality, and if life is a reality for some, so they never knew what it was like to dream, who's in the simulation? Who's really living the reality? And who's really living the simulation? At the end, there's horrible actions that happen every day. And when I see stuff, the main thing that comes to my mind was it worth it? Was it worth it for that person? Was it worth it for the people that were impacted? I read that the ancients said we're not from here. That's a powerful thought. You know, the innovation, looking back thousands of years, looking at all the stuff that we found all around the world and all the places that we haven't explored, especially the bottoms of the ocean. I think to everyone that is on this planet, this life is a dream. It's an illusion because we don't know all the facts. We don't have all the truths. We don't have someone walking around that's 8,000 years old telling us how it was. And we don't have comparisons except for the last 100 years. And when we have centennials and the people that we need to learn from, not enough do. There's many well-documented effects and changes that have happened around the world. Electrical, magnetic. And I say this because waking up is, oh my, what do I do now? What am I going to do today? What were we thinking? Where were we going? And you have that sudden change, and it's like a clear-cut, concentrated energy. You change the field. You change where you're at. Our hearts. The heart is more magnetic than our brain. And I think when we look at that, the electric that goes in our brain, the links that control us all to express outward growth, that effect, that participation in the process. Our thoughts, our feelings, emotions, belief, compassion. There's prayers of forgiveness in our hearts, and that changes us inside, and it changes us outside. And many might think it's not a prayer, or it's just words being spoken that, hey, we want to make more money, or hey, we want to have a nicer house, or hey, we want to get to this better place. But it's personal growth, and it's personal healing. It's recognition that there's more and you want a better change. And we would like to believe, but we need a reason to believe. So we need to give our youth a lot more reasons to believe. And that's the human to human. The healing, the guidance, heritage, questions, learning, answer. To go outside in the world. And then to be able to come home safely. And come back and then go out there and do it again. And they did that many years ago. Traveling, with horse and oxen and all around. We called them pilgrims. And forgiveness, forgiveness is something that everyone needs to have. It doesn't matter if it's your son or somebody else's son, or your daughter or somebody else's daughter. We need good people. And we need good people that are going to continue teaching good things. It's communication. It's the words we speak and the words they hear. It's the language we speak, the language they hear. And, as we forgive and we show more compassion and love, we see pride rise up in them. And it's one thing to be proud, but it's another thing to let ego cloud judgment, especially fathers of their sons. And when a father's pride clouds that judgment, it's not being bound by time, space, death. After death, does your soul have weight? Does it measure a weight of 28 grams Or, do we go towards the light? There's a lot of unknown factors. When you look at the heavens and you look at higher dimensions and you really dig deep into, all the stuff that's out there. There's collections of religions and ideas and systems. One of the interesting things I found was like looking up information on like the border of Iran and Iraq. And you look at some of the reasons so much stuff goes on over there. And you look at where there's places with 6,000-year-old scrolls, of Aramaic, and I'm not sure I said that right, but there's different languages, and if it is what they say, and they say it's the language of Jesus and different people that came throughout, we're not going to be able to replace some of these things. But coming together to save something instead of fending off people trying to destroy it, and the elite just battling over what is great possessions that could help the rest of the world, it's personal and spiritual knowledge. So we need the teachings, we need the traditions, we need authority. And I think the people just before we can talk about unidentified flying objects and all the stuff that's out there, but how about we just break down the church first? How about we understand what's really behind the religions? How about we break down what we've created already before we put more stuff out there? Look at all the military stuff, all the places we search. Why is everybody going all over all the seas? The book of Genesis, mankind's creation, when things were created, why they were created, when they were created. The marriage of the physical body, the feminine soul, separate entities, life and death, is it a projection? More rhetorical, but it's the value of choice. Is it real? Is it healing, abundance, peace? Transcending the great sufferings. I choose to mirror my own heart and change my reality in my own world, and I think that everyone should go that way, especially in these times. We give thanks for leaving a place better than we found it. That was one thing I was taught was, and I still do this to this day. It doesn't matter if I'm at a park, I'll pick up a piece of trash and throw it in the trash can, or I do things and you do it without really thinking. And it's just leaving a place better than you found it. Stepping in, giving a helping hand, or talking to a person. It's that time. And if we value our time in here, then that's honor when we leave. So that time and honor is limited. So you can walk past this, or walk past a person crying and not check on them, or not pick up that piece of trash, but who's to say when the next person that thinks about that is going to come along? And we end up with a lot going on in our lives every day. So to be better is to be a better you, and to be a better collective. And you make the collective around you better, your family, your friends, every time you better yourself. Every time you quit smoking, every time you don't drink, every time you decide to do something a little bit better. and you realize it in yourself that, hey, that made you feel better and you're better in yourself, you need to know that you're bettering everyone around you. So if you listen to this all the way to the end, then you're a better person just because you took the time, and you took the time to think about stuff for yourself. It wasn't about me doing this for likes, shares, subscribes. It's about the people just trying to take something away that helps them. And if it's taking the time out just to listen to somebody else talk or hear somebody else's opinion, and know that you're not the only one that might think that way, or whatever it is, it's about bettering the people around you. It's about knowing that you can be on the other side of the world and still have that synchronicity with somebody that they feel the same way, and they're around the world picking up a piece of trash, or they're around the world taking care of their kid and doing the best they can. And that's all we can do, is try to teach the youth and give the youth the best opportunities that we didn't have, or maybe we struggled through. And if we want this world to work, we're all going to have to come together. We're all going to have to realize that, there's droughts going on. The one country I was listening to, they were talking about the food shortage there, that, when you look at a calorie basis and stuff like that, there's a lot of things some people take for granted. But what happens when you really do have to ration? What happens when you really do get your food consumption cut down? What happens when you only have 2 bottles of water a day, or 1 bottle of water a day? I think as we go on, it's going to be a pressure situation for some people. And it's not going to be fun for some people. And some countries are better off than others. And especially in America, as hard as people act like we have it, I think we're a lot better off than other places. So we should be very thankful for what we have. And the more we divide as a nation, the more we just put ourselves on a level that eventually we're going to have nothing, instead of putting back together what we do have and having something. And I think that starts in your community. I think that starts in every household. I think that starts in the person-to-person contact. As far as if the parents are stressed out and there's always stuff going on in the house, that's going to affect the kids. So you need to have a solid house. You need to keep control of your emotions. Every individual. If you start keeping control of your emotions, then, and you harness your Leo, you harness your lion. And there's all kinds of Leos, and there's all kinds of lions. And we have feminine, and we have masculine. And the more and more that goes on, if we divide, we're just teaching our youth to divide. If people love each other, come together, not everyone's going to agree. Not always do you need to agree. It's okay to agree to disagree. It's okay to have an individual status and a different opinion than the next person. But it's not okay to bully and belittle them and knock them down and sway judgment. Because at the end of the day, if you give it some time, one of you might see it from the other's perspective. You might experience later on down the road what that person was experiencing, and then that will come back and you'll realize how that experience changed you to see a different outlook. And maybe that person wasn't completely wrong. They just experienced something before you did. So they were just sharing in that experience, and they were just wanting to be accepted. And acceptance amongst us is going to make the difference. And I'm not saying every person is good, and I'm not saying all people are bad, but you want to keep a like-minded community. You want to keep people, and you might have to tell people, no, now is not the time. I don't think that we see eye to eye. And that becomes an unfortunate circumstance, especially if it's family, friends, the people that are close around you, that should be around you. But sometimes you have to grow through what you go through, and you have to have these experiences to be able to get to the next place. And those are hard lessons that parents have to teach kids. And it takes stepping away from the phones, even though I'm using this for, that's how we do these channels. It's very hard to, and some of us are up late at night doing this while our kids asleep, so that way we take on ourselves that we're going to have less sleep because we still want to pay it forward. We're still trying to put a message out there. We're still trying to connect the dots ourselves as parents to try to give a better life to our kids. So at the end of the day, I hope everyone has a good day. Everyone has a good Friday. Everyone can kick ass and take names. Be their best Leo. You know, when something bad happens, remember to step back and breathe. You know, just give yourself 10 seconds to breathe. Give yourself 10 reasons why you need to keep going. You have to keep that positive light going. Keep your positive messages going. Keep feeding yourself in that positive way. And it's, most of the people that are listening to this are going to be the underdogs. They're the black sheep. They're the ones that we're connecting through a whole nother way. But during the 2020, 2019, and now, it's more people are experiencing what maybe they never experienced before. So now I think there's a lot more grounding going on, a lot more level-headedness. But at the same time, it's creating a lot more uproar because there's a lot more turmoil, a lot more people moving, a lot more shifting, higher prices, lower wages, vaccination mandates. You know, if you're not vaccinated, maybe you're not eligible for this job. And the more we go through this process, this is, even though we went through all this is where we feel the full effects. In the second part of 2021, we're going to feel the full effects of all the stuff we went through in 2019, 2020. We're going to really start feeling these effects full force into 2022. And we're not going to know the complete impact that 2019, 2020 had on 2021 until we get into 2022 and 2023. And by then, it's too late to do a course correction. So the more people that course correct themselves now, the more people that, you know, if you're doing something that's not good for you, you're old enough to recognize it, stop doing it. You know, start trying to pick up a book, write on that piece of paper, call that friend. You know, there's many options out there, but it all starts with you. If you can't deal with yourself in a small room or in a small place, then you can't expect anybody else to deal with you in any atmosphere. And the masks put on more pressure. This time of the year, the heat's going up. As the heat goes up and rises, the warmer weather is going to put on more pressure. It gets people's emotions going. And the same, like when it gets cold, people are freezing. Emotions come out. So it's trying to take care of your family, having a jacket, having food, keeping water. If you just look around and people open up their eyes, and people open up their hearts, and people open up their minds, there's a lot of barter trading ways neighbors can help each other, whether it be child care. You want to have yourself in a good spot so you can trust the people around you. You want to have yourself in a good place so that way you know that you can trust. And trust is a big thing. And even though people get hurt, you have to forgive. You might not forget, but you can't hold the next person accountable for what happened to you in your past. And you always have to stay open to the people coming. And if you can see the good in someone, and you can see that someone's out for the better because they're trying to better themselves, and they're trying to better the people around them, because they don't just want themselves to win, but they want the collective. They want themselves to win. That's what this is about. It's not just about me. It's not just about my family. It's not just about who's around me. It's about me because I want myself to win. I want to better myself every day. I work at bettering myself every day. But I better myself every day to better everyone around me. To stay on top. To stay in my Leo energy. To, if I better myself and better my kids and better my family, and they impact the community and we have a better community, then maybe we'll have a better state. Maybe the country will get back on track. So I think it's time we all put the train back on the rails and we all form and work together at bettering ourselves. It starts with taking a shower, personal hygiene, just the basic necessities of life. And we need to teach these kids the fundamentals of just how to put their socks on, put shoes on, tie their stuff. Simple things like knots. Just simple things like going out, how to start a fire. Everybody can turn on a stove or kick a heat switch on, but how many people can start a fire? How many people can plant a seed in the ground and grow that seed and go water that seed every day? Take the time to go grow a crop. Know how to grow a tomato plant. Know how to grow a corn plant. Know how to grow anything so that way they can one day fend for themselves or grow a flower that looks nice. We're so far off the beaten path of what the basic needs are because everybody relies on, oh, it's always been there. So I think that the more we get back to the fundamental basics and we get more back to the people and giving the respect to the people that really work hard to do this stuff. I mean, most of my stuff, I've had this stuff for like 10 years. I don't need fancy clothes. Yeah, I own a couple suits, I own this and that, because you have those occasions, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As the main thing to me is just making sure my kid's okay. Once my kids are okay, then I know that I can sleep a little better at night. But my kids are okay if I'm taking care of myself. And the better I am, the better mindset I'm in. You know, tonight, for example, just cooking pancakes, doing the simple things. Having those moments, you know, put love into your food. Don't be making dinner all pissed off, because then you're feeding that emotion into what you're making. You always want to have love and light in what you're doing. You always want to have inspiration. Let them ask questions. You know, how did you make that? Well, I put flour, sugar, baking soda, baking powder, milk, some oil, a little bit of vanilla. You want to go through these processes and teach them the fundamentals, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. We need to continue working at just teaching, and teaching comes from learning. And as we let them ask questions, we get to learn the questions that maybe we never asked, or maybe we didn't have the chance to ask. and we're creating more opportunities for them. So the whole purpose of me saying that is it's all about opportunities. Think about all the opportunities you didn't have and try to create those opportunities. Maybe you have whatever your niche is, put it out there because someone might want to learn it, but maybe they don't have the person around them to teach them, but maybe they would be very good at it. So as you go forward, I hope everyone has a good Friday. Love and light, stay positive, just be yourself, better yourself, whether it's doing jumping jacks in your own kitchen, eating a little bit healthier, make sure that your, meat's going up, more people will. It's going to be harder, to get some foods. Some people might be switching diets. Make sure that you can, if it's getting harder to get something, maybe try to stock up on it now before that goes up in price. There's a lot of people with many needs. So I hope everyone has a good day, and I hope everyone can gain the resources and gain the knowledge that they need moving forward in 2021 and into 2022. And if you know someone that needs something, try to help them. Try to pay it forward.